Hello everyone, this is John for PokerVIP.com, and in this video we are going to be playing TonyBet. You'll have seen the original crushing TonyBet micro-stake series. Now we're just grinding. We're going to sit down, we're going to play 4 random stake tables, and we're just going to play poker and talk over all the spots and try and make it as much money as possible. So 25NL, 10NL, and 2NL currently running, so I've really got all the different stakes covered. And I'm also on some waiting lists off the screen. Because I could get on a another 2NL table, but I'd rather get a 10NL or 25NL up, so we're going to be patient there and just hope one of those starts pretty soon and just leave this bottom corner blank. And you can see my coloured Lego effect in the background. But yeah, TonyBet now available on mobile, iOS and Android by the way, but super soft. They reward you guys heavily. You get anywhere from 25 to 80% rake back, and it varies. And it varies on how much you've won or lost that week. If you're a big winner, you're probably going to get a lower 25% kind of range. If you had a losing week, you're going to get close to the 80%. So over the long run, you're probably going to average, 40 to 60%. And on top of that, you get the TonyBet rake race, you get the Poker VIP rake race, you get a deposit bonus, you get a reload bonus. So it's just so much to be made. I mean, honestly, I think lots of people will be getting over 100% returns if they're losing, and then good winning players will be getting around 60 to 70%. So just so much money to be made there, and I really want you guys to come on and make even more money by playing well at the tables. But anyway, I will just crack on with the video. But yeah, I have a passion for TonyBet, let's just say that. So yeah, we're going to talk about each and every hand as and when it happens, and we're going to win some money. Any questions or comments, please leave below, and also please just leave a star rating review when you can. Software's really nice. You've seen it before. You can straddle and do all cool stuff like that. You can also top up, which I believe I have set everywhere. It wasn't there when it first launched, but when you buy in, you can now set auto top up, which is sick. So okay, we've got to assume this guy's a weaker player because he's limped. Generally, good players will not limp. However, with a hand like 7-9, the idea of raising doesn't really seem that great, but we can definitely just consider him sort of like as a fish and at least note that and tag him. That's the main bit of information from this. So I decided to check, which I think is better than raising pre-flop. My hand does flop well, it plays well enough. The Jack 7-4 flop, I was going to go for a check call. But once he checks back, then I'm just going to go ahead and bet the turn. It's a very wet board. People can just definitely check the flop and then start calling down and play pretty sticky. But sadly he folded. 10 Jack off in the 2NL games. Now I would say I have literally no experience playing 2NL. I think I did a 4NL video on Sky. I think that's the lowest I've ever played. So this is new for me. But I'm just going to use general poker knowledge and theory and apply it and just basically figure it out as I go along. It shouldn't be that difficult to grasp. But I just called pre-flop, even though it was a 4x with 10 Jack from the big blind. Definitely going to be a defend. And then flop, we just totally missed everything, so we got out of the way. Note up here that this guy was the weaker player, the Poker Verg. He now just decided to 5x open pre-flop, so that is pretty interesting. 6x suited, we can mix it up between flatting and 3-betting. Can just go ahead and flat in position. Obviously, that's a very, it just flops very well. This is a good flop as such. It'd be better if there's a diamond on the flop or a couple of diamonds. However, we do have a double gut shot, and one of them is to the nuts, so that's always good. So flop's going to be a very easy call. Like I say, I wish there was a backdoor diamond draw, but for now, we're just going to go ahead and call. I don't think raising's particularly good. I think if we were out of position and heads up, we could check raise the flop. But I think multi-way in position, we can just go ahead and call. Like I say, I'm on the waiting list off the screen, so that 4th table will be filled soon. So don't you guys worry. Okay, so he bets, and I'm just going to go ahead and call. I made a pair. I have the draw still, so we should probably be in there. We're bringing in this 4th table, which is good. He now bets again, which is interesting. He's repping a 7 or a 3. He can definitely have hands, but, I now basically have one of the best hands possible I'm ever going to have. And he could just be like, bluffing with a flush draw, value betting, thinly. So I'm just gonna have to go make the call here and assume he can show up with worse, often enough. He actually has a set, so a pretty interesting bet by him there. I didn't know 2NL players had that in him. Wow, he's hit and run. That's just great. That is just fantastic. His bet, I'm not too sure I like it. I might go for a bluff catcher there when the draws miss. I'm not too sure on that. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet the ace-queen, and the 6-7 suited on the 10NL table I just sat down on. Very easy defend here, and we do flop 2-pair on a pretty wet board. I'm actually going to sit out of this 2NL table, just because there is a good 10NL game, and I would rather play a 6-handed 10NL game than a 3-handed 2NL game, which might break soon. 6-0 I'm just going to go ahead and call. I think calling, even though it's a wet board, is fine. There we go. Bring that guy in. Bring that little guy in. And I'll make sure I rotate and sit where I like to sit. Okay, so he checks. He might be going for a check raise. I don't really love the queen because he can have queens or king queen. But now we just have to bet for value, protection, and not think about folding because he could have aces or ace king, or even just a big combo draw that he wants to check jam. Flop we can raise because it is a wet board. Certainly on a dry board I'll always be flatting. But I have definitely been mixing up recently by, just calling wet boards as well. Because then we can basically, make a hand look like a bluff on runouts where we miss. It's a really interesting river here. I don't think he has king queen. He can have king jack. He doesn't have jack queen. I don't think he has ace 10 or 9-10 that often. But it's really hard to think what value I can get from this guy. Like, if he has ace-king or aces, they're the only two hands. Maybe if he has a hand like ace-queen of diamonds that he checked. It's pretty close between checking and betting. And I think the reason I want to bet is because what I was just talking about was that flush draw. Where when the flush draw misses, we can now bluff, by the way we've played it, because people expect us to fast play. So, it feels very thin. But I just don't think he's got jacks or queens. Probably doesn't have a set of kings. Now he has king queen, so it only really leaves king jack, or if you got there with ace 10 or 9-10 with diamonds or spades. So I'm just going to go ahead and jam it in and hope I get called by worse. Like, he could call me with ace queen because my hand does look more like a misdraw than a made hand because I flatted the flop. I think that's probably just the easiest way of explaining it. You can see this guy's playing his mobile. He does fold, which is interesting, but hey. I'm going to go for the re-ISO with king 8 suited. Ace 9 all in there on the flop, I guess. Missed that. Ace 5 just going to call blind versus blind. My mind wasn't focusing there when I was trying to explain it, so if you need me to explain that more, just ask in the comments. Jack 7 on the button. This guy's on his mobile, so a population read is kind of like, are you really going to, play that many hands? Probably not. You probably just sat there bored. Ah, we've got someone in here. Let's find out who that is. I can't remember everyone's screen names, but I don't recognize Goan Midag from the forum as a name. So we'll find out who that is. But quite often we will be playing a forum member, which is cool. And they get to see themselves on video, and maybe we'll play some hands together. Tens here, I'm just going to go for a 3-bet, pretty straightforward, 4-handed pocket tens, aggressive, good hand, pretty much as simple as that. We can actually pretty much just do what we like here. We can check or we can bet. There are definitely advantages and disadvantages for both. The disadvantages, we create a bigger pot out position. Disadvantages, we will often check fold, depending on his bet sizing. The advantage is, though, maybe he will check and he will bluff the turn, and we can go for a check call. Or maybe he will go ahead and check turn as well, and we can value bet river. King 7, I flop top pair versus this guy. Going to go ahead and go with the plan here with the 10s as a check call, and I'll call the river as well. He can now definitely just bet like any king or jack because he knows my hand is pretty much what it is. But, all the draws did miss, so I think there are going to be a lot of bluffs there as well. King 7, I'm going to go ahead and value bet. 6-4, we're going to fold on the button. 10-4, we're going to fold. Against 2, interesting here. I think it's just better to go ahead and bet the 6-7 than to do anything else, even though it is multi-way and a pretty wet board. Gonna go ahead and raise it up with the queens. No limping here. This guy check calls, which is really interesting. You know, his flush draws, his sets, his 2 pairs, his over pairs. They should all probably just bet flop, so I'm not really too sure what's in this guy's check calling range. But we're just going to go ahead and start by checking back the turn. And I think I'll fold the river, even though it's very random. Going to go ahead and squeeze my aces, fold the 5-10, and just carry on betting the queens. The queens I'm going to bet 2. You know, in his mind he's got 7. That would leave him 5. Obviously we know we can jam, but just like a fish mentality is, ooh, I can, you know, call and have 5. And, you know, I'm just trying to basically tease him into putting more money into the pot. And it just looks easier on his phone, I imagine. 6-7 I'm going to fold. Really not too sure what that guy had. Would love to know. Queen on the river, it's a spade, so we hope he's got a flush. I would jam, by the way, even if this was just a random spade. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet this 10s. Just because I assume he's going to just call down pretty light anyway, so I would have just bet jammed. He does snap me off. He had, wow, he had a full house, the poor guy. And we stack him. Nothing he could do, nothing I could do. If I didn't hit that queen, he was getting all of my money. Queen 10 I open, I go for the check call. The reason I check call here with the queen 10 is he should be 3-betting all of his like strong hands. You know, his ace kings, his ace queens, probably ace 10s, ace jacks, kings, aces, 10s, and I block jack queen. So it's kind of hard for him to have like a really strong hand. Now I need to think, do I want to turn my hand into a bluff in case he has a hand like king jack or like ace 5, or do I want to just hero call down because I think he is going to be, you know, bluffing often. And I actually think I prefer to turn my hand into a bluff here. I can have jack queen, I can have the sets, I can have the 2 pairs. He cannot. I mean, he can have jack queen, but I block it, like I say, even though it's still not impossible. Would he check king 10? Yeah, maybe. Can I get him to fold that? Possibly. So I think I'm just going to check raise turn and bomb pretty big on river. He opts to fold though, which is fine, and that's a good result for us. Ace 10 suited, blind versus blind, bottom right. Yep, just go for a call. Trying to find out who this guy is. Yeah. There we go, we got it through. Deuce 3 suited on the button. I mean, yeah, I think we should be folding those hands. Ace 10 suited, I mean, we have 60% of a royal flush, so we are not going anywhere. But on a serious note, ace high is just going to be good a lot there, and there are a lot of good turn cards for us. He bets again, though. He's a shorter stack. I'm just going to go ahead and give this up and assume he has a strong hand. So yeah, we're going to be running about 4 TonyBet videos per month, just showing off the games. And it's against this Go or Dig guy who's from the VIP forum. I don't know who he is yet, but I will definitely play into dynamics. You know, does he want to be 3-bet on video? You know, does he think I'm loose? Does he think I'm tight? You know, does he think I'm just messing about? So that ace king there, I mean, even though it is a pretty easy jam, it would... it makes it easier if he did go for the 4-bet there, or, you know, jammed. I could pretty much be super happy getting ace king in there. Okay, so something to note is this Magic Mike on the bottom right table. He's actually not limping, he's straddling. And straddling is just doubling the big blind, generally, and definitely on TonyBet. It just creates more action, it makes the pot bigger. I do it when I'm just messing about or playing PLO or something. I definitely do it live because I like to make live games bigger. So yeah, what should we be doing? We should just be attacking it, just like we attack the blinds. I'm going to just keep betting my ace 10 here. Really shocked at this check raise. He's repping really strong. But I don't know what queens he has. Queen 5, Queen 4, Queen 10. Do block a couple of those. So he might have a combo draw, like a straight draw, flush draw, something like that. So I think I'm just opting to go all in here. Generally, I used to always just call, but now I just ship it, and when he only has about 3 back, and the pot's already so big. Just because if he does have that spade draw, I would rather just, you know, get the money in good, because I don't want to fold. If I think he's got 6, 7, an 8, a 3, a spade is no good. If he's got king, jack of spades, and so on. Also, if this guy's just bluffing with king, jack, I would rather get all the money in now, rather than him brick and just give me no money, you know, on a 4 river. So I think I've got the best head a lot of the time here. I think he can call with worse, and that's essentially why I'm doing it. Ace queen, gonna go for a check. He does call and has 4-6. I mean, awesome. Guess I'll bet my ace queen now. So yeah, I mean, he just turned. God knows why he did that. But you know, that's also another case. Like, say this guy's got 10 jack. Say this guy has a hand like 10 jack, and you know he just wants to stack. But then the river comes like a horrible card, and now he doesn't want to stack. That is essentially what we don't want. I bet really small there for my ace queen. I just think I've pretty much got the nuts, and I want him to basically raise me as a bluff, or let's go ahead and give me some money. But yeah, that was pretty weird by Magic Mike, and it's interesting though that he's auto reloaded to the max. So that's really good. And we're just going to keep on rocking. This guy's limped. He's on a phone. Sorry, he's blind posted. He's on a phone. You know, everything that's good to just go ahead and steal. And we also have King Jack in position. So a few hands happened pretty quick there. I was definitely focusing down here. I wonder if it's Jeff. I'm trying to figure out who this player is. I wish my brain was better. 8, I'm just going to bet. Even though there is an overcard and it's a scary board and you're multi-way, you're going to want to bet these hands simply out of protection. People will generally bet a board like this with a hand that beats ours. Maybe 9s and 10s is the exception there. But, you know, if they've got a flush draw or a set... certainly if they've got a set, a pair, 2 pair that beats us, they're going to bet. I think they'll often bet their flush draw as well. So when they check, they're going to have hands like King Queen and Ace Queen and Ace Kings, and all these hands have got, you know, equity versus ours. So we basically are happy for them to fold, but if they want to call, then that's fine as well. Aces versus Queens over on my table, pretty interesting. Can I just fold these 8s? Ooh, Queens get there on the second run. You can run it twice on this site, which is a pretty awesome feature. It does not change your equity long term, so it does not matter what you do as long as they're not raking it. Going to go ahead and make some opens here. Jack 6 is pretty loose to do this with, but I think it's fine. Ace Queen, I mean, this guy's on the straddle. We've now got a limper. I mean, it's all looking great. Yeah, the Jack 6 was just too loose there. Queen 9 suited. Wow, big squeeze there by going. And we're going to go ahead and fold. Are we going to go ahead? Yeah, we're going to fold. 7, 25, 40, 5x'd it against 2 opponents, so it seems fine. Queen 10 under the gun, we're going to muck. Right, so there's going to be like this dynamic now with me and Magic Mike. You know, even though I showed up with a hand before, which was the Ace 10, he might now just think I'm just going to be relentless on opening his straddle. So, you know, a hand like Ace Queen would be like an all-in pre-flop against him. If I raised and he 3-bet, I would 4-bet call it off. Simple as that. We're doing really well. We're just making money every hand we play. It's such a money-making site. And like I say, on top of this, you're going to get all the rewards. You know, they've got their own rake race. We've got our rake race. We've got the rake back, the bonus, the reload bonus. So much money to be made. You know, very easy to move up the levels on here as well. 3-bet here by Magic Mike. I don't like the fact that I have this player behind me, so I'm hoping he folds. But I'm going to call in position with a very strong hand and essentially just never fold if I make like something, you know, like a king or a queen versus him. Like I say, it sucks that this guy's behind us because now we are literally just trapped to hitting, which we didn't, so we have to fold. So that's pretty frustrating. I imagine Gomdig's got like a pocket pair and is not going anywhere. Wow, he folds. I don't know what kind of hand he has to call me and then call him and then to fold that flop. I think I'm just going to go for a 4x 3-bet. I'm starting to 4x more often as a 3-bet. It is pretty much just the standard in poker nowadays. 4s are lovely. Going to just go ahead and call and try and flop a set, which we don't. So it's just going to be a check fold. Ace 5 we're going to fold. 4s we're going to fold. Jack 9's the min, 6 deuce is the fold. Notice I've got a creaky chair. I do apologise for that. I have to get that fixed. It might get very annoying on video. Gonna go ahead and open this Jack 8. Nobody's really 3-betting me often, and people are playing pretty much face up post flop, so for me in these games, I will just play more hands. A lot of people know what I play on the forum and follow what I talk about. And, you know, I really just play very few tables now across soft sites, so I definitely play a wider range of hands. Just because I play less tables, I'm more focused. You know, I understand the game flow a bit better because I'm playing less tables and concentrating. And so on. So I definitely think, you know, playing, you know, looser is better in games like this. And looser doesn't mean 3, 4, 5 betting all the time. It just means, you know, maybe opening a slightly wider range and just, you know, being a lot more competent post flop. The Jack 8 there, I check the flop with the intention of basically calling. But once he checks and the turn comes the King of Spades, I'm just going to now start betting and trying to, you know, get some value and protect my hand. Ace 2 is going to go ahead and raise here. The 8-10 suit, he just didn't min raise. He 2x pre-flop. I made it 20, he made it 40. Pretty great flop for us, can call here. Not a good turn card as such, but we will continue to call. Queen 6 suited here. We can go for a 3-bet squeeze. 8-10 is going to be a call. Ace deuce is going to be a check because we don't love our hand, but we don't hate it. He checks. I'm not really too sure what he checks. I'm almost really tempted to try like an overbet all in here. My hand just seems a bit weak. I think if I had a jack, I would like overbet jam, but with the 10, I'm just going to go for a third size pop bet. Ace deuce, I really hate this spot. The fact that he's betting after I raised and he overcalled, but I can definitely not just start folding top pair yet. He could just understand that I might stay in the button a bit too wide, and we could be going from there. Interesting turn card. Really don't know how many jacks this guy's going to have. River's not that great either. Going to just be a check. Going to bet my bad gut shot here with the 6-7. Basically, when you have 7 high in a gut shot, and that's all you have, you should probably just go ahead and bet and trying to win the pot. Ace is going to check and just hope he checks back and shows it with a king, but he definitely has some queens in his range. Pretty interesting. 6-7 we just shut down, but I will probably bet this river if he checks because it hits us. I think I can go slightly large here, 90. I think I'm going to fold this ace deuce. I think he reps it all well. Yeah, 6-7 I bet 90 into 94. If he has a hand like Jack Queen, he will not love this spot. But certainly if he has like Ace 10, Queen 10, 9 10, those hands will fold. So I put Jacks in a horrible spot, and I put the rest of it in a coffin. So that's why we're doing that. It's always good to make players hate playing versus you. Always good for people to have anger whilst playing you. 7-8, gonna go for a squeeze. 5x looks fine. 6-7 suit, gonna go for an ISO. Going for an ISO. Great flop for us there. Straight draw, flush draw. 7-8, good flop. Even though we flop nothing, this guy should 3-bet his ace queens pre-flop and should just have a lot of pairs. So we're going to start betting small, and then our bet size will start to increase, turn and river, and we're probably going to go for the 1, 2, 3 here. If he just check calls, it'll just be a bet jam spot. You know, his best hand here, ace jack. Like, you know, literally turn the straight here, so just going to continue to bet and build the pot. I'm just trying to think about sizing here. If I bet 550, then there'll be 10, 19. Yeah, I think this is a good size. It looks like I'm value betting. It looks like I'm protecting. It's not too small. And, you know, when he calls, it's going to be 20 in the middle. I'm going to have 16 back, so that's going to be a good jam. He might have 4s, but, you know, like, he just feels like ace-jack is, like, literally the top of his range here. He didn't 3-bet pre-flop. He called out a position, and yeah, he just goes for the fold. It just puts him in a nightmare situation, like king-queen off or something like that he might have got stubborn with. He will not like. And if he calls there, then yeah, the river is going to be the decider for him. I'm going to bet my ace now. He checked. He calls pretty quick, so I might have just got like a jack. So I'm just going to bet half pot and just give him a good price to call. I don't think this is too thin. I don't think this is overvalue betting or value cutting ourselves. It's just, he's probably going to have a second or third pair type hand, and he's probably going to call. So, give him a good price and hope that happens. And yeah, snap. Thanks. Easy game. We are really doing well here, guys. This is just a really effortless feeling grind. The software's smooth. The players do what you want them to do. It's just all lovely. Like, it really is. I can't recommend this site enough. And I really hope, 50 players just go and sit down and just be like, well, yeah, maybe there's not 50 games to choose from, but the 10 that there are, they're pretty great value to be in. So, play some more. King 7 blind versus blind, it is pretty close to, what I would start to fold, but he makes a pretty quick fold there, so that's good. Like I say, just slightly opening up that opening range by a few percent in each position. It really is that combo. If people are folding too much and then they're playing very poorly post-flop and it's all kind of face-up, as long as you don't get carried away with yourself and, start really getting yourself into, nonsensical spots, then you'll be fine. Isolating with the Queen 10 suited. A very standard play, sure all of you are doing this. I go for 4x. We flop top pair, that's really good. It'll just be a spot I really don't want to think about folding on many runouts, especially if it's all just below a 10 and no diamonds. If he raises, it'll be pretty interesting. With it and ace 10, if he raises, I'd probably just ship it in, same with maybe king 10. But queen 10, I'd probably just take the call down mode, just because it's not as sure that we would have the best hand. So I don't really like the idea of value betting when we're not sure we're getting value. Being jammed on here, I'm not going to call with ace 9. That would be way too loose. 7 deuce. Yeah, Jack 6 suited is not a defend versus under the gun. I also know TonyBet have a lot of cool stuff planned for autumn winter. Lots of good promos. So you can click the link in the description or by the side of the video and get signed up. Bit groggy today, so I do apologise if my voice is not as lovely. 5-6 suited, we're going to go ahead and call on the button versus a min raise. Flop bottom pair and a gut shot. 6s up top is just the standard open. Don't really love our hand, don't really love this situation, don't really love this spot, but getting this price in this position with this hand is just a very straightforward call, and then this turn will just be a very straightforward fold. Okay, so lots of action has ensued, and we get out of the middle. We don't want to be in the middle of that train crash. One thing I would say about TonyBet is I've never had connection problems. I always seem to just be full strength connection on here, which is a really nice thing, and I think it's just because of how light their software is. Anyway, 6-8 suited we open under the gun, a little on the looser side, but we're opening hands like 7-8 suited, so 6-8 suited can definitely fall into a TonyBet opening range. But to be honest, I open this hand everywhere. I definitely am happy to show it with hands like this. A huge squeeze again here by going dig. I would say his squeezes are probably not going to get action, and quite often he won't want action. But on a game where you don't need to play GTO, maybe if you have a strong hand there, don't make it that size, because it just looks massive. If you are bluffing and you want folds, then that's awesome. But maybe change it up a bit. 10-5 going to go for the check bet check, the traditional value line, versus our friend on the phone. Hey, I love Tony. One love Tony. I think there's a reason why a lot of people play on this site as well. Obviously, owned by Tony G, Antanas Gugoa. But as everyone knows him as Tony G, the aggressive mother trucker. Going to go ahead and 3-bet my King Jack from the small blind. It looks very strong 3-betting from the small blind versus a mid-position open. Ace-high flop, I am basically going to bet once and probably be done. And yeah, I think that is the best way to play this hand. He checks pretty quick, which is sad because now I know he probably didn't have that strong of a hand. But now I'm not too sure what I can rep, so it's just going to be a fold. And he had 9s. Yeah, maybe. Why would I bet one there? Maybe I could bet 2. I let him off. I let him off the hook. Maybe I could check flop bet turn and river, something like that. Misplayed that one. Leave a comment below, guys. What would you do? Anyway, we're at the end of the video, guys, and it has been amazing. This was part whatever, but this was basically playing on TonyBet, part 1, back at it, and we'll be back for part 2. Good luck at the tables, and this was John for PokerVIP.com.